I mean, that's not uncommon. You know, I would learn that in school. When I was in college, that's the point in time where you're trying to figure out exactly who you are, where you're going to fit in the world instead of learning to belong. You know, most of us tend to focus on trying to fit in.
Roll me, Mac.
What have you found to be freeing for your mental health? What I find to be freeing for my mental health is that I get to face my ego head on. Because really, all we are battling daily when we feel like we're not good enough and all that shit, that is nothing but, I believe it's nothing but the ego. And when I face it, as I say all the time, what Brene Brown taught me is that shame can only hold up behind you, but not in front of you. So if I learn to face the darkest parts of me, the parts that I feel like I'm ashamed of, the parts that I wish I could change in the past, or the guilt that I might be holding on to, it allows me to be free and accept things as they are, not what I want them to be. So I can look at little Rome and I can say, yep, you made a mistake. You did. That's not how you really wanted it to go. That's not how you wanted that person to feel, but you did it. And you can say, I'm sorry, but changed behavior is the best apology in my mind. But I get to just release whatever it is that I'm holding on to, these thoughts. These are just thoughts, really. And when I release these thoughts, I'm able to just let that weight off. It's like journaling. And I find various ways to journal. I like to journal through this forum of doing Ask Rome episodes each time. It's very freeing for me. If I've had a week where there's just a lot going on that I'm trying to control and it's out of my control, I can come here and I can hold myself accountable and air myself out. Now, granted, commonly in a therapy office, it's just you and the therapist, but my listening ear are my listening ears, whoever's watching this show. And what you guys may not know, but I'll share with you, is that it is therapy for me. The fact that you're listening, the fact that whenever we communicate again, you mention something about the show, something that you didn't realize that I was dealing with, or how I thought about this thing, or even saying what you did not like about the show, you know what I'm saying? And something that you did not agree with the, you know, the work that was being said. All of that is therapeutic because I don't have a desire to be right about whatever I share on this shit, unless it's factual about me and like my life. Like, it is a known fact that I was born in 1985 on September 20th. It is a known fact that my full name is John Robert McAllister III, and I got my nickname from my cousin, who is author of Broken Promises. Her name is Shiloh Miles. She was the one that coined the name Romy Mac to me. That is the first person that has ever said that. Romy, I have to give to my mother. These are known facts about me. You know, that's what a known fact is. But as far as what we talk about on this platform is merely just perspective. And I like to say things in a way that it allows people to think. It allows people to assess from their perspective. And you take it whatever you want to do with it, you know, whether you agree with me or not. You don't have to agree with me, but it is entertaining. You know, for those of us who think the way that we think on, you know, this platform, it allows us to think. It allows us to come up with different ways of seeing things. It brings us closer together. It separates us from the matrix. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. If anything, I'm trying to plant the seed for you to remove yourself out of the fucking matrix so that you can live the life that you want to and not feel like you have to live up to your parents' expectations of you. And I mean that in a healthy sense, not so much as like if your parents really want you to succeed in life, but those ones that feel like they have to, they have to follow whatever religion that was given to them at birth, for them to live the life that they want to, for them to realize that they don't have to just like country music and pop music or just R&B and rap or just gospel or what have you. Like allowing a person to think for themselves and choose the way they wish to live so that we can accept you for what you choose to be at that point in time. Now, to say I don't accept you for you, it's like if we create us every day, I do my best to try to not say, this is just me being me. I'm in it's a fixed mindset as to where I keep growing. I believe I keep growing, so I'm going to say that, this is who I choose to be on this day. And I very well may do something different tomorrow. But what I like to do is to carry myself in a way that allows people to feel comfortable being whoever they want to be at that point in time, as long as it doesn't project any pain onto me. That's where my mindset is with that. So I find being able to share things from my perspective as far as what I went through with my peers, with my friends, with families, what it allows is a very freeing feeling, and it's not to point fingers at anyone. It's giving my perspective, and it's allowing me to have a voice when I didn't have a voice before, and to accept the fact that it happened. I mean, there's no changing in it, but accept the fact that it happened. And then I'm not responsible, as they say all the time in mental health conversations, you're not responsible for what happened to you. You're responsible for how you respond to it from then on. Because it doesn't have to be a life sentence. It can just be a lesson so we can learn from whatever traumatic experience. And I'm not saying that you need to get over whatever's been traumatic for you, because there's no time limit for that. However, we become what we think about. So if we keep focusing on whatever, like that part of the traumatic situation, we're going to repeat the same thing. We're going to see that. We're going to manifest that into our lives every day if we keep focusing on this particular part that brings us so much pain. I said we become what we think about. So if we become what we think about, then I'm going to choose to focus on something much more beneficial to me than the negative shit that was just weighing on me and I just feel shame and guilt behind. I don't want to do that no more. What I would like to do is just continuously try to project healing and sending positive energy out to the masses so that they can heal from whatever it is, man. The longer I live, the longer I realize how imperfect we all are. And the thing is, when you have your world shaken up by the imperfect people that were supposed to look after you, it can catch you off guard. It can traumatize you for a little bit. But to look at it past the pain that they were maybe projecting onto you, let's look at it from their perspective and what they were going through and how it was nothing personal. Nothing anyone does is about you. Don't take anything personal, because they were simply just projecting. If you knew how much people were projecting every day, the people that we see, the people out in the streets, the people in traffic, the people at work, the people at school, the people in your fucking house, how much they are projecting their pain, you would learn not to take anything personal. It just allow you to just kind of, okay, I'm gonna detach from the situation so that I can see it from your world, because everybody's operating in their own world when they're talking to you. They really are inside their own world, and they are speaking from their world. And I mean, you just think about it in so many ways, man. How many kids feel like they were wronged by their parents growing up because they didn't have this? I definitely one person that used to speak about that shit faithfully. I'm just showing how entitled I was in my mind, because I'm so entitled to a great life or whatever. When people can only give you what they have. And not to say you should be grateful for or live by a should or anything like that, but it's understanding that what you may have wanted from them, they didn't necessarily have, or know how to give, or know how to do. And in that sense, being grateful for what they did give you. There's certain things that they gave the best of what they had. but they were also flawed individuals who were going through pain. And perhaps they didn't have people there for their pain. And some people don't break the cycle. Some people continue it on thinking that it's normal. And then what they do is project. They project their pain onto you. Now, when we're kids, we don't understand this shit. We don't understand this mental health stuff, spirituality, psychology, all that shit. All we know is that the individuals that is responsible for me did this to me. They projected this onto me. And they very well could have been just sleepwalking through their pain. And they projected. But now I'm not a kid no more. I'm old enough to where I can recognize that this person is in pain. And let me remove the label from them. Let me not say mom. Let me not say dad. Let me see human. And see this person that is projecting their pain onto me. But now I'm in a position where I don't have to be around that shit. I can love you from afar. I can love you from over here. I can, when you get a certain place where you know that your parents or cousins, brother, sister, even your kids, when you know that they're in a challenging spot, they're in a painful place, and whenever they come around you, they project their pain. You're a trigger for them, and when you tend to have conversations, it's only a couple minutes before the blow up, and we haven't figured out how to have this healthy conversation yet. Just understand we're human, and learning how to fight in conflict, learning how to fight in confrontation, learning to fight fair. All that sarcasm, all that trying to get one up on you shit, that's ego. The ego is not going to serve you in an argument unless it's about sports in a barbershop or at work or whatever. But when you're trying to mend things with your family or somebody that you value in your life, there's no room for the ego. There's no room to kind of point the finger. There is room to share your perspective on what you felt in the situation. And for us on the other side of it to listen to you when you share your perspective and not dismiss you when you share your perspective, because it all boils down to the fraction of wanting to be seen, heard, and loved. So if I dismiss how you feel in this conversation, you're not going to want to listen to me. I don't believe that, so trying to find that courage to just be better from the inside and mentally get there to where you can forgive them for yourself, not for them, but forgive them for yourself, so that you can move the fuck on, man, and stop reliving that horror movie that you directed. And whether that be them childhood horror movies that we all have and we keep seeing, especially if you have vivid imagery like I believe I do. I believe I have a very vivid photographic memory, and that's not just for the happy moments, for the for the fantasy, the Disney movies that you directed, but also the motherfucking thrillers, the mysteries, the horror movies that you direct. And I can control the film a little bit better these days by focusing on what I want to put into the movie that I'm directing. So I can choose to think about something that's more beneficial, or be around people that are more beneficial for my life, that complement my life, and avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. I'm not be able to say it enough. I thank Robert Greene and Rich Cooper for bringing that to my life with that word, and changed my life for the better, man, to be able to say I'm going to avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Those people that come around us and they just want to be a drain. They want to drag you down. They want to talk about how horrible their life is. And we're not trying to ignore the negativity. We acknowledge it, but we're not dwelling on it. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Use it for fuel. Don't use it as a means to stop. Use it as a means of fuel to move forward. We got to keep moving forward. When you in hell, don't sit in hell. Go through hell so that, you can create the heaven that you want. You sit in that hell all you want, it's just going to attract more hot ass people that love the heat, that love hell. Keep going through. Keep moving through fucking hell so that you can get to your heaven. And that's my mentality. That's my mentality that I want to share with you guys. But what I find to be very freeing about mental health is the ability to share my honest thoughts, the ability to share what I went through in a way that can be well received so that it can help somebody else that may be on a similar path. What emotions were you allowed to show in the house growing up? Well, I believe, now mind you, anybody from the family watching this is my perspective. This is not right or wrong or anything, but I believe growing up, I was allowed to show, it depends at the time frame. Obviously, I think before my brother was born, I was allowed to share just about every emotion that I could find. I was very much a happy-go-lucky child. Now, that's not to say that I was sad because my brother was born. I was actually very happy. Don't get me wrong, you had your typical big brother, little brother, jealous of the attention being divided, going to, the kid that needed it the most because he was obviously a baby. But before my brother was born, I was able to share how happy I was. I was able to share how sad I was. I was consoled for it. I could show my anger, throw tantrums, lose my shit in a store. Like, yeah, that's a spoiled ass kid. Cuba, the Cuba days, leaving the Ninja Turtle arcade machine outside of the commissary and Navy Exchange in Gitmo. And I wasn't even having the coins to play. I was just on the insert coins on that little motherfucker that was trying to just play without, thinking you're playing, but you're not playing. You just had that imagination. And then, mom say it's time to leave. It's time to leave. But no, I want to stay. I want to stay. I want to play and all that stuff. So I was able to show my displeasure with leaving the arcade machine. I didn't show a lot of sadness though. I can honestly say that, man. I'm very grateful for my childhood. And I thank my parents for that. I think the long hours and the deployments that my father went on to provide for his family. I think the hours that my mom gave to me and my brother, and even leaving the Navy to kind of be with me a little bit more as a parent. Those little things, you know what I'm saying? She may not discuss it, but it doesn't go unmentioned or unnoticed that these are the sacrifices that they made for us. But back to the story of the emotions, at that point in time, I was able to show just about every other emotion. Now, as I got older, I believe that I was, well, one, you got that teenage shit. So teenagers try to act like they ain't happy, they ain't cool. You try to act all cool and shit. And be like, nah, that's all right. Come down for Christmas morning, it'd be like fucking 30 gifts. Appreciate that, mom. some dumb shit like that, right? But I believe that's just trying to fit in. So the emotions I was able to show at that point in time, I would say that because of a lot of stuff that was going on, I was allowed to show joy. I was allowed to show happiness. Now, whether I choose to show joy as a teenager, because again, that whole trying to be cool shit, you get with your boys and, see some little girl walking around the neighborhood, you smiling in their face and laughing with your boys. And when you get in the house, what's up, mom? What up, pop? Something like that. Like you turn that off, like you're trying to prevent them from getting into the world that you're trying to create. And I mean, that's not uncommon. I would learn that in school. When I was in college, that's the point in time where you're trying to figure out exactly who you are, where you're going to fit in the world instead of learning to belong. Most of us tend to focus on trying to fit in. So about age 11 till about age 16, there's that period of time where if you were once close with your kid, they're now trying, man, go home, huh? Get off, get away type thing. You're trying to develop your independence. But I believe I was able to show joy. I don't believe I was able to show anger as a teenager. I don't believe I was allowed to be angry. I didn't know how. I even struggle today managing anger in a healthy way, because I know two ways. I can be stoic, or I can be volcano. That's trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure out to this day at 40 how to manage anger from that standpoint, to meet in the middle with that. But I don't believe I was able to show anger. I don't believe that those emotions were taught to them to know how to deal with my own anger. So like they weren't able to show kind of like anger and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? As far as like crying goes, man, I would have moments where I would cry, but for the most part, I don't think there was a healthy way of processing crying. Maybe like going with that crying now. That's the common thing that you would hear sometimes. And I believe I even did that to my brother. Because what else did I know? I believe I would tell him, like when he would cry, man, go cut that crying shit out, or whatever. Trying to man him up as a big brother to little brother thing. And because I don't think we never did. I don't think we were ever taught how to manage those emotions. And I think about it. Who really teaches that? Has there ever been a time just where you just sat and thought about it, where you were not taught to manage these emotions? And I just don't believe we were. And it's not, like I said, it's nothing for us. It's not pointing fingers or anything. It's just recognizing and being observant. Like, damn, we really didn't have that. We didn't have that whole thing where I'm gonna teach you how to manage your emotions, but I'm gonna also show you how to be a masculine man at the same time. And you're fortunate if you can get that. You're very fortunate if you can get that. If you have parents now that are actively, being involved in like mental health and realizing, damn, man, I probably could have done this a little bit better when I was younger as a parent, or when I was younger as a kid. And now that I have kids, being able to see it from the child's perspective and what the child needed then. We're merely just, we're all kids, right? Yeah, you got kids that have been here since, let's just say they're still living. There's kids that are still rolling from the 1930s, like my grandma. And then there's kids that are just born, you know what I'm saying? Like they're just kids. And what we tend to do, sometimes we dismiss the kids that were born a long time ago, just as much as the people born a long time ago dismiss the kids that were born 10 years ago. And now you have communication disruption where I'm not gonna listen to you because you're too old. I'm not gonna listen to you because you're too young. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Both saying the same shit. But we both have some information beneficial to where we can, use that and make better decisions for ourselves. I like to welcome any conversation. You never know which one's going to turn it on. That's a Jim Rohn quote. Invite all conversations, invite all information. You never know what thing is going to turn it on for you for inspiration. But growing up, I said high school. Like I said, I was still in that teenage shit where there'd be certain things like Michael comes on. Like when I was a senior, Michael's 30th anniversary thing came on. I think it was on VH1. And it was joy there because that was my guy. Growing up, that was my first entertainer. That's the first person that I knew of as an entertainer. And I was Michael'd out. Everything, just the energy runs through it. And even seeing that go through my kid, my daughter's the same way. She loves Michael. So, and my brother too. We all love Michael in various forms too, and like between the three of us, it's just so interesting how that goes. And even my cousin Richard too. We grew up just we loved the fuck out of Michael's music and whatever it was. We used to watch the Michael Jackson Moonwalker on VHS like faithfully all the time, and we just kind of we all found our ways of being, attached to Michael's music. But what's so interesting is that even though I wasn't able to show, I didn't feel like I was able to show certain emotions in the house, I very well could express them and listen to them through Michael. Like Michael's sensitivity, got picked on a lot and all that stuff, but it definitely opened up a lot of doors for me to listen to, the way that he would express himself through song and shit. And it influenced me, for sure. Definitely influenced me. Like, why this nigga always crying? Like, She's Out of My Life, he crying on stage. And then also at the end of Will You Be There, there's a lot of, I'm being very sensitive and crying on the record. And try to be all cool and shit, but for whatever reason, Michael has that respect, even to the hardest gangster, whatever you want to call it. The hardest person that has a love for Michael. And Michael allowed a lot of emotions to be excused around certain people. That much I can say of his impact, of his music, And so, like, growing up, there's at that teenage age, before leaving, to go to the Air Force, there was, you were allowed to show that you were happy, you were allowed to show joy, you were allowed to, you could be disappointed, but not angry. Angry, I believe it was more dismissed. If anything, if you showed anger, it was dismissed. It's like, all right, so whatever, that type of thing, would be a commonly response. And after a while, you get used to it, and then you start doing the shit to other people, and you dismiss how they feel, and it's it's a snowball effect with that. And so it's just people who didn't know any better. That's how I look at it. But those emotions, like, you really weren't allowed to show much emotion. I think about it, we would make jokes, if anything. That was how we dismissed our emotions, by making jokes. We would make sarcasm, we would do passive aggressive shit, and that's how emotions would be expressed. And it's it's an immature, it's an emotionally immature way of doing it, but that's what we did. We would say passive aggressive shit, we would do sarcasm, we would try to clown one another and get one up on the person. But as far as like a healthy way of processing your emotion, it really wasn't much for that. But it's just learning, observation. I mean, I know for sure the people that I would meet after going to the Air Force, they taught me a lot about myself. They taught me a lot about sarcasm. Don't nobody teach you how to be a better person than your ex-girlfriends because of how much they have to deal with your ass, close up, especially when they want to try to have conflict resolution. And I've dismissed so many important conversations because I didn't know how to express myself. And the same in return too. I believe, we were 5-year-olds. The little, like the emotional, immature versions of us were in the room together, on the phone together, texting each other. And we came back to childhood where we were trying to get one up on the other person instead of seeing it as me and her versus the problem. It was me versus her. And that's mistakes. That's mistakes, man. Nothing to dwell on. It's just something to learn from. So I like to say that I'm learning. I've learned, and we just continue to move forward in a positive way as far as emotions goes, and learning that. But yes, growing up, there was a point in time where I felt like I could show any emotion, and then as I got older, I wasn't able to show the more difficult emotions, like anger and shit like that. That was that had to be, you weren't able to kind of show that. But it's a good mirror on our ability and inability as humans to manage one's emotions. common phrase you heard from your parents growing up. Clean that room like I like it. Don't make me get on the warpath. For my dad, it would be, wrestling on. Not wrestling, but wrestling on. Go Greyhound, leave driving to us. If my dad was like doing good in like dominoes or a card game, and he was busting your ass, that's like that's the way he talks shit. Is he say, "Go Greyhound and leave driving to us." This room looks like a pigsty. Yeah, this room looks like a pigsty. If you're going to church with me, you better get up and get dressed and get showered. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Those are the common phrases that I would hear growing up in my house. As a lifelong Michael fan, what songs do you hope to see played in the movie later this month? Well, Human Nature, number one. I think the usuals, these are the usual suspects for this Michael movie, I imagine. And start from chronological order. I Want You Back, ABC, I'll Be There, Stop the Love You Save, Dancing Machine, Can You Feel It? Hopefully Heartbreak Hotel. If not with his brothers, at least with him on stage, like when they talk about Bad. He's on Down the Road, hopefully with like Diana Ross. If I'm lucky, Sunset Driver, but that's wishful thinking. But I recommend people check out Sunset Driver by Michael Jackson. That is fire. That is one of the greatest songs to never make the album. Because Michael was a perfectionist, from my understanding. I don't know the man personally, but from my understanding, what people around him used to say, he was a perfectionist. Yeah, I would like to hear. I would love to hear someone Put Your Hand Out. That's another Michael record that is like a gem that didn't. It was supposed to have been on Bad, actually. It was either going to be on Bad or it was supposed to be on Dangerous. But Teddy Riley produced it. It is, so probably Dangerous because, Teddy wasn't around in the Bad time frame. So, but Dangerous. Dangerous, there's a few. There's a Dangerous concert. Hopefully they show a little bit of that in Bucharest. That was cool. But Jam, I Can't Let Her Get Away, Heal the World, Who Is It? That's one of my favorites by Michael. Is Who Is It? The melody, Teddy Riley really hooked that up. Michael beatboxing over the track too. Will You Be There? For those of us who grew up watching Free Willy, that song, was on the Free Willy soundtrack as well as the Dangerous album. Dangerous, the song itself, of course. Remember the Time. That'd be cool if to see the video and figure out who the hell is gonna play Eddie. That would be hilarious. Maybe Jay Farrell, they could get to play Eddie Murphy just for that little small bit of the show, of the movie. Thriller wise, the entire album, everything from I Wanna Be Starting Something, Baby Be Mine, The Girl Is Mine, Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean, Human Nature, The Lady of My Life, and of course PYT. And I hope that they play the demo version of PYT. Like a lot of things that weren't very focused. You heard these unreleased songs, but the beginning of PYT sets up for Someone Put Your Hand Out, in a sense. Yeah, it is you can hear the melodies in between that. For Bad, there's so many visuals that can come with it. This movie has the potential of being one of the most sold out Blu-rays, DVDs, VHS if they decide to put it on that, movies in general. So I feel for Antoine Fuqua, with the pressure of directing this film, because people really do love Michael. I'm going into it whenever I see it, to see it take it for what it is, not having any expectations, because the bar is already set high by the stamp of Michael on the name. But I mean, I really do hope that they do All I Do Is Think of You as well. I mean, Troop had I've said this before in debates about Michael. There's 2 times where I've heard Michael outsing on his own songs. The first one was, I think Troop did a really good job on All I Do Is Think of You, their version that came out, like in the late 80s. And then Fall again by with Robin Thicke, Kenny G and Robin Thicke. Michael was outsang by Robin Thicke on that. I stand by that. I stand by that to this very day. But to Michael's defense, it was a demo what he did. Robin wrote that song for him, but he ended up using it, not using it at all. So Kenny G and Robin Thicke did it for Kenny G's album. And but it was, I mean, it's just one of the most magnetic songs for love to me. But yeah, like I would love to hear a lot of the Jacksons songs that really didn't pay much attention to. Maybe I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus like as a short thing, like with if they focus on Christmas. But little like the Michael solo when he was like 14. So Music and Me, yeah, People Make the World Go Round by the Stylistics. Michael did a cover of that, and of course Got to Be There, and I Want to Be Where You Are, Ben, We're Almost There, One Day in Your Life. I mean, there's a plethora of songs that can be chosen for this film. I do look forward to seeing how it's played out. I mean, for somebody who's seen various movies made about the Jacksons, I don't think anything tops The American Dream, the Jacksons story that came out back in '92 on it was on ABC. I remember that like it was an event, man, to watch that and watch the first night, and then it came on the second night, and just the moments, you know what I'm saying? Lawrence Hilton Jacobs played the fuck out of Joe, but my man that plays Joe, he got his face down already. That's what I've seen, man. Like, there's been memes about it, like, this guy's getting an Oscar just off his face alone of playing Joe. Be interesting how deep into the story and what they share. I couldn't imagine, being that high profile of a family and having your business, just out in the street. But I mean, I guess that comes with the fame, right? But the infidelity that Joe had, how the boys were trying, how they were with groupies. They kind of showed some of that in the TV series, but I'd be interested to see if they show, a little bit of like, Michael cop blocking on Jermaine and Jackie and Tito with the groupies that they would meet on the road, and then how Michael, like in the TV series, they showed Michael, he wanted to play store and shit. Michael was never allowed, a normal childhood. Hence, the childhood he tried to live as an adult, what I think led to a lot of speculation on shit that was just a way of getting his money. My perspective. I don't know any of these motherfuckers personally. I only know them from music, but just from the shit that's kind of shared on like online and the what we would learn of news growing up of those who were big Michael fans, that was it was interesting to see. It was interesting to see it all play out. And I remember being at my Uncle Keno's house and hearing about Michael being accused of like touching a kid at Neverland Ranch. And I remember when You Are Not Alone premiered on NBC. Is actually after an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When that thing came on, I remember Sundays, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air used to come on. And at first it used to come on Thursdays, but then by the time it was in its last season and around 95, that it was playing, it was playing on Sundays, and Michael's video premiered. And you see him and Lisa Marie naked in the thing, and that just created a craze itself. Thank God. Well, I mean, we didn't really, the internet wasn't as big as it was, It wasn't big back then the way that it is now, but people still talk. People definitely still talk. You know, I think Oprah had Michael and Lisa Marie on one time too. I still remember the moment when I learned that Michael was dying that day. Me and my boys were supposed to go see Transformers, the second one. We were headed to Southland Mall, but I don't know, I got word, said Michael was, you know, non-responsive and shit. And I'm literally like, no. You know, this is back when I'm attached to my artist. And I'm looking at the TV and I'm seeing like, they're showing UCLA hospital team and shit. And it was so much a confliction of information. TMZ had reported that Michael was dead before CNN or anybody. And this is back when TMZ wasn't, you know, they weren't that known, popular as far as celebrity news the way that they are today. But sure enough, man, I was like, nah. We came up to work because I had to pick up, we had to get everybody from the job, you know what I'm saying? Because then we were going to head out to the Southland. But yeah, sure enough, man, I remember being at the weather counter looking up at the TV and it, Blitz came on. And he said the man known as Michael Jackson has died. And it was silence in my head, you know, sounds emotional and shit. But yeah, that was like, that's what I'm saying, like, I wasn't attached to a lot of entertainers, but Michael I was attached to. And that just, I don't know. I remember that feeling. I remember that feeling that day, and I was, yeah, I was pretty choked up. I was choked up that night when we got home. When I got home from watching Transformers 2. But, no, I look forward to it. And I do look forward to what it's going to be. I still stand by the fact that Human Nature is the greatest song by Michael Jackson that I've ever heard in my life. And I will stand by that as well. But that's enough. That's it. Yeah, we're pretty much, we're done with this episode. So again, thank you guys for listening as long as you do, as much as you do. And very grateful for the opportunity to come and speak my honest thoughts to you guys as well as to myself, because like I said, this is therapy for me. But be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share your timeline, do reviews on like iTunes to help the show, the algorithm and all that stuff. If you're watching from YouTube, hit like so that it can help out the algorithm and all of that stuff. Be sure to check out the shorts on the Ask Rome YouTube page, as well as the J.E.T.Sense Podcast Central page. You can follow that one as well for like vintage content. That's like when I literally started way back in 2016. There's still my very first show, J.E.T.Sense, before it got revamped to mental health stuff. You can catch all that that content on YouTube on the J.E.T.Sense Podcast Central. I'll leave it in the description of the show from here on out. But thank you again for your time. Very grateful for it. So Romy Mac, this is Ask Rome, and I'm out. Good night, kids.